Alright guys, Raw Wrestler here, and today I will be reviewing the August 1st edition of Monday Night Raw, the second Monday Night Raw post-draft. After the fantastic episode of Raw we had last week, would we have two great Raws in a row? I'll tell you now, to me, it seemed like Raw's pretty much back to normal. Just finished it about 10 minutes ago, and Raw is very much back to normal, but we'll see what you think as I go through the show. So the show kicked off with the new WWE Women's Champion, Sasha Banks, coming out, and she got a "You Deserve It" chant. It was a great moment. She just said, you know, my dream for 10 years, all that good stuff. It kind of felt like the Daniel Bryan moment after WrestleMania 30 on Raw, where he came out and got all the adulation, and it was that big climax of a championship title hunt. So it was a nice moment there. She fumbled a couple of her lines a little bit. Then Charlotte came out. Charlotte said, "You're a one-night thing. You're a one-night stand," which I thought was a really good line. And then Sasha Banks replied with, "You're the daughter of Ric Flair. You were the product of a one-night stand," which was a great comeback. Chris Jericho comes out and starts to kiss Charlotte's ass, basically. Do you know who you're talking to? This is the daughter of a legend. And then he totally forgets all that and says she surpassed anything Ric Flair ever did. Which, okay, sure. Then we needed a balance for Sasha Banks, so Enzo Amore came out without Colin Cassidy. Why? I'll never know. But Enzo came out, basically started to hit on Sasha Banks, chat her up a little bit. I believe his line was, I want to make a certified G deposit in your Sasha bank. That's touchy and very innuendo-y. In fact, this whole segment was full of innuendos. The one-night stand joke, the certified G deposit in the Sasha Bank joke. And then in the end, there was one more. Oh, damn it. Oh, got it, yeah. That was it. It was Enzo's love life. This is what Charlotte said. And I enjoyed this segment because it had a good balance of comedic humour, but unfortunately it kind of put the women on a back burner and kind of made them seem very irrelevant without the male counterparts. So it was a line from Charlotte. She said, there is actually one word to describe Enzo's love life, and I'm going to spell it out for you. Exceptional humour. Really, really liked that. I thought all four performers in this segment were very, very good. Jericho proves why he is the best heel still in that company at the age of 45 or 46, you know, just ahead of Kevin Owens. So, wow, just really good Jericho. Really good stuff from all of them. I think they were all funny. I just wish the women had some more importance and had a segment to themselves instead of just throwing Jericho and throwing Enzo out there. It was funny, but it was kind of unnecessary at the same time. So, Commissioner Foley comes out and he says, we're going to have a mixed tag match, the first mixed tag match of the new era, and I can't remember a mixed tag team matchup on Monday Night Raw. Must have been like 5 years. Probably AJ Lee and John Cena against Vicky Guerrero and Dolph Ziggler, so more like 4 years. But yeah, that's probably the last one. I'm guessing. It's probably not, but I'm just guessing. Maybe, oh no, Caitlyn and Dolph Ziggler against Big E and AJ Lee at SummerSlam. There you go. So 3 years. 3 years, yeah. So we moved into the mixed tag team matchup. Sasha Banks and Enzo Amore taking on the team of Chris Jericho and Charlotte. I just thought, basically in my mind, I said, oh, Enzo Amore must be sick of being the third wheel to Carmella and Big Cass. Just goes out there and hits on Sasha Banks. That was lovely from Enzo Amore. But anyway, yeah, this mixed tag match, this was fine. It was very run-of-the-mill. I'm going to give it 2.5 stars. Because Kevin Owens was on commentary, I'd give it 2.25 if he wasn't. Kevin Owens is the best commentator on that show. He was just so funny. Basically, Kevin Owens is kind of like the internet commentator. So when he goes on commentary, he just points out everything the internet think. So Michael Cole's a bad commentator, Byron Saxon's a bad commentator. He said Corey Graves is pretty good, which is actually everyone on all of our us wrestling fans' opinion. So it was really, really cool to have Kevin on commentary. In the end, Sasha slapped Jericho, and then Dana ran down to the ring. Sasha got caught, and then Charlotte hit natural selection for the win. 50-50 booking. For God's sake, WWE, you couldn't have given her 1 week. I mean, this is... That really annoyed me. It really annoyed me that Sasha Banks got pinned here, because it was just, she won the belt last week and now she's back to losing the next week on Raw. 50-50 booking at its finest from the WWE. There were a couple of cool things in this matchup. Sasha did a tope again and nearly killed herself again. And the best part of this by far was Jericho hitting a mid-air dropkick on Enzo Amore, and I said it was my notes say Kazuchika Okada-esque. So Jericho gets a big thumbs up for that. But in the end, Jericho, as Sasha's on the floor, Enzo's trying to help her up. Jericho codebreakers Enzo, and Big Cass comes down. Jericho runs away with Dana Brooke and Charlotte around his arms, looking like an absolute pimp. I guess they're going to do, and later on in the show, it seems like I guess they're going to do Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy against Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho at SummerSlam, because later on in the show, Kevin Owens said he will back Chris Jericho up in the fight against Enzo and Cass. So 2.5 stars. It was a run-of-the-mill mixed tag match. I've seen better, I've seen worse. Mixed tag matches are never really great, so they did okay for the time they had. But I do feel like having Charlotte beat Sasha was idiotic, and having them fight in the actual match was just idiotic as well. It just took all the suspense out of their match at SummerSlam. So, okay, there's a lot. It really annoyed me. It really annoyed me that Sasha got pinned, and not just because I'm a Sasha Banks fan. It just doesn't make sense. I'm not gonna. Okay, so I think that was pretty much all of my. Oh, the referee made a huge botch. The referee had the woman's title after the match, and he went to give it to Charlotte. And Charlotte must have said something, because the referee immediately, when you see him in the camera shot, and he goes, "Oh yeah," and walks back and gives it to Sasha Banks, and Sasha Banks goes, "That's my title," and takes it off him. So, idiotic referee didn't help the idiotic situation. I believe that's everything. Oh, my notes basically: stop doing topes, Sasha, you are going to kill yourself. And 50-50 booking was my other one, so. Okay, so after that we had Braun Strowman coming out and doing another squash. This was fine. I can't remember. The guy's name was Evan Anderhold or something like that. This squash was not as good as James Ellsworth. Definitely not as good as James Ellsworth. He didn't have the promo ability of the mighty James Ellsworth. But it was fine. It was squash. Then we had the Golden Truth taking on the Shining Stars. This was pointless. I have no interest in either of these teams. The Shining Stars won after about a minute. Moving on. Finn Balor interview with Michael Cole. So Michael Cole asks Finn probably one question, and then Rollins comes out, and then Rollins and Balor have a promo segment here. I thought this was very good. I think that Balor is exposed in these longer promo segments. That's probably Balor's only weakness, is the fact that his promo segments, especially long ones, aren't particularly great. Rollins here carried it a little bit more. His promo was really, really good. I really want to see this SummerSlam match between the two. And in the end, Rollins tried to catch Balor with a cheap shot. Balor caught him with a right hand and then hit him with a Pele kick, which Michael Cole called a overhead kick. And I will just say that AJ Styles has been using a Pele kick on every single week of Raw for the past 6 months. So you should know that it's a Pele kick. I know it's slightly different, and it's not as impressive as AJ Styles' Pele kick, but it's still a Pele kick. But anyway, good segment. Really enjoyed that segment. Probably the best part of the show so far. I do want to say that before this segment, it was announced that Mark Henry would face Rusev for the United States title for some reason. So after the Balor and Rollins segment, it was Mark Henry taking on Rusev for the United States title. This was fine. I gave the match 2 stars. The right person won. Rusev won the United States title, and basically cut a good promo after the match, basically saying the USA always cheat. And then I had immediate flashbacks, because it's 2016, so it's 20 years since Kurt Angle won the gold medal for amateur wrestling at the Olympics. So I had a little flashback to Kurt Angle winning the gold medal. And so yeah, Rusev cut this really, really good promo. Who should come out? Roman Reigns, and he actually didn't get booed too much, unless Kevin Dunn is editing the sound, which I imagine he is, but he didn't get booed too much. And I think Reigns comes out and he stares down Rusev. In the end, he Superman punches him. Reigns against Rusev looks to be your United States title feud, and I'm going to tell you now, because of all I've read this morning is people bitching and moaning. Oh, Roman Reigns is in the United States title picture. Oh, Roman Reigns is going to beat Rusev. Firstly, I don't know if he is going to beat Rusev. If he is, great. That's great. If he isn't, that's also great. Because Roman Reigns being in the United States title picture does something wonderful for this title reign. Rusev's title reign has been bloody awful. It's been worse than Kalisto's. Kalisto was beating Alberto Del Rio and Ryback, a former world champion and a former world title contender. Rusev's beating Titus ONeil and Zack Ryder. So, Rusev's title reign has been shockingly poor. A feud with Roman Reigns can elevate that title so much. Plus, I want to see Roman Reigns and Rusev in a match. I think it could be a good, physical encounter. And Roman Reigns honestly has something Rusev doesn't, and that's star power. Roman Reigns has the ability of being in main events. He can make this match bigger than it is. And with Roman Reigns going against Rusev, it makes the US title bigger than it was. It makes it seem like Cena had the belt again. So if Reigns gets the belt, great. If Rusev retains the belt against Reigns, great. What would I want? I think I'd want Reigns to take the belt and have a good reign with that. And elevate that belt, because that belt is useless at the moment. But this feud here can really help elevate that US title. Who wins, it doesn't matter. I don't think it'll be a 1 month feud, but it's a feud that you should be excited for. And if Ruru loses, don't complain or bitch, because it makes total sense for Roman Reigns to beat Rusev. And there's an organic story between Roman Reigns and Rusev, you know? Reigns eliminated Rusev from the Royal Rumble that Reigns won last. He eliminated Rusev from the 2016 Rumble first. And Roman Reigns was actually the first person on the main roster to beat Rusev. He beat him by countout on a SmackDown episode. So there's an organic story there that just tells itself. And, you know, it's also probably the easiest person for Reigns to get cheered against, because Rusev is a good heel enough where he can get the crowd immediately against him. So I'm all for Roman Reigns against Rusev at SummerSlam. It hasn't been officially booked yet. I imagine next week's Raw it will be. But that's a good match, and I'm really looking forward to that if it actually goes through. But yeah, I just said Roman Reigns was cheered. The match got 2 stars. The aftermath of Reigns coming out was really, really good. Then we had Titus ONeil against Darren Young. Apparently Titus ONeil is a heel. I couldn't care less, to be honest. In the end, Titus ONeil won with a schoolboy, with the tights, and Bob Backlund was very angry backstage. And I think Titus ONeil said, I'm going to knock you on your ass, old man, or something like that. And Darren Young punched Titus ONeil. So I don't know which one's a heel. I feel like I should be cheering for Darren Young in this situation. So I'm going to go with Darren Young. Then we had the Sheamus Cesaro backstage promo with Stephanie and Shane. And I thought, Stephanie and Mick Foley, sorry. I thought this was very good because this showed why they didn't have as much faith in Cesaro or Sheamus. So Mick Foley said, look, Cesaro, you were very, very far down in our draft, and that's not because of your ability. We had you as a top 5 draft pick. It's because your shoulder injury was always an issue. And that makes total sense. So it's very nice that they covered that, and they really put Cesaro over a little bit there. They didn't, you know, demote him so much, kind of like the draft did. It made a lot of sense, and it was very, very good. Sheamus, they just said, basically, we felt like you've lost it a bit, and we want you to bring back that fire. And then Mick Foley booked tonight. He said that Cesaro will take on Sheamus for a shot at a future title. I imagine it'll be a future United States title shot, because Sheamus was complaining about Mark Henry getting a title shot, which does make sense. So this was a really, really good segment because everything made sense. So they set up Cesaro against Sheamus. The winner would get a title shot. They didn't say which title. It'll be the Universal title or the US title. If it's the Universal title and we get a Finn Balor victory at SummerSlam, Balor against Cesaro would be such a great match. But I imagine it'll more be the US title. And Cesaro and Rusev could be a great match. Cesaro and Reigns we've seen can be a great match. So, good stuff all around there. I'd say it's the backstage segments and the promos on this show that really kind of carry it. Then we had the Nia Jax squash match. This was very similar to last week's. It was fine. She won with what was an awesome move. It kind of looked like the Wrath of the Gods, which is Matanza Cueto's move in Lucha Underground. It was a Samoan drop which she turned into like a spinning power slam, which I thought was really, really cool. But yeah, she's kind of ditched the leg drop again, which is very good. A good squash match. I prefer the Strowman squash matches a little bit more, I think. I think the characters that Strowman gets in his squash matches are hilarious to listen to, especially when they're being interviewed by Byron before the match. the guy this week was basically like, well, I get $1,000, and if I win, I get 5, and I was just like, yeah, really, really good stuff. Then we had a Sami Zayn promo backstage, and this was great. Again, I think the backstage promos on this show really were really good. And he basically said, you know what, Rollins has got a lot to prove tonight, but so have I. I've got a lot to prove. I beat Kevin Owens at Battleground, but I've got so much more to show. I've got so much more to give to Raw, and I want to be in that top caliber main event scene. Really good promo from Sami Zayn. I hope he's doing something at SummerSlam. I can't imagine what he'd be doing with Owens and Jericho doing the Enzo and Cass match, with Reigns taking on Rusev. What else can Sami Zayn do? Who else can he work with? I don't know. I guess we'll find out. Then we had New Day versus the Club, and we found out that one member of the New Day had to be banned from ringside. It turned out to be Xavier Woods, who pulled the short straw or the banana. There was an innuendo of a penis. Of course there was, because they had fruit and a banana and 2 oranges, and of course a lot of sexual innuendos on this Raw, and that's not just me picking them up. But yeah, so it turned out to be Anderson Gallows against Big E and Kofi. This lasted a minute, but this was basically all about the post-match attack. And Big E getting injured by the Club. He got pulled down to the ring post on his groin. I thought the Club looked great, regardless if they lost. They lost, but they kind of got cocky anyway, so it makes sense. The Club against the New Day is a good feud. It's one I'm looking forward to. And this was a good segment again, because it made the club look strong. Getting to the end of the show, and we had probably the second best match on the show. It was Cesaro taking on Sheamus. The winner would get a title shot. We don't know what title it's for, obviously. Very, very good match, and very, very run-of-the-mill, but I felt like there was also a lot of difference here. This match was different from a lot of the matches I've seen so far this year, in the fact it was very physical, and that's what matches Sheamus and Cesaro should be having, very brutal matches. Uppercuts from the get-go, and there's a great spot where Sheamus gives a small uppercut to Cesaro, and Cesaro just battles back with a huge one. Uppercuts for the first couple of minutes, and then it was just a power game. And it was just a really, really good matchup. I gave it 3.25 stars. In the end, a great finish. Sheamus goes for a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker. Cesaro counters and hits Sheamus with a neutralizer for the pin. 1, 2, 3. Very, very good match. Gave it 3.25 stars. Very good stuff from both men. Then we moved on to Heath Slater with Jinder Mahal in the ring, and just before this segment, Sheamus and Cesaro were battling up the ramp, so maybe they're going to continue that feud to SummerSlam. I imagine there'll be a pre-show match, which is a shame, but it'll be a very good pre-show match. So then we find out that Heath Slater is in the ring with Jinder Mahal, so Jinder Mahal is back, the reports are true, and I couldn't care less. This segment was probably my least favourite segment on the entire show. Heath Slater basically says, why aren't the two-man band back together? Why aren't we signed to contracts? Mick Foley says, well, you know what I'm going to do? I've got one spot free on the roster. The winner of this next match between the two of you will get the shot. Slater doesn't notice Jinder Mahal's going to super kick him. Super kick, 1, 2, 3. Jinder Mahal gets the Raw roster contract. So, I'm not rating it. I don't rate matches that are a minute long. There's no point. Kevin Owens backstage with Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho was saying how dare Cass get up in Enzo's business. It doesn't make sense, even though they're tag team partners. Jericho said he had backup, and then he gave the name of Jiminy, some guy from Winnipeg, which was funny. And then Kevin Owens is in the shot, and Kevin Owens says, you know what, Chris, I'll be your backup. So it does look like it'll be Enzo and Cass against Jericho and Owens at SummerSlam. You've got basically one of the best face talkers in Enzo Amore against two of the best heel talkers. And no, let me rephrase that. The two best heel talkers in Jericho and Owens. Should be a good matchup. I'm looking forward to that. It's nice to see Owens in something, even though he lost to Zayn. I mean, the winner of Battleground should really get the pick of the draw in terms of matches, but I guess Owens is getting it. Then we had the main event match of the show, Seth Rollins against Sami Zayn. I thought this was very good. I made no notes on this matchup because it was just a very good Sami Zayn Seth Rollins match. A lot of the stuff you'd expect, DDTs, buckle bomb, haluva kick. Well, no, it wasn't. In the end, he went for a haluva kick, got caught on the top rope. Rollins hits a pedigree, 1, 2, 3. Both men looked good here, and I hope Sami Zayn is doing something at SummerSlam. I can't imagine what at this point. He did win a big match at Battleground, so he should be thrust into a big match. But it doesn't look like he's going to be, sadly. Rollins looked really good here. Sami looked really good here. Nobody loses in this matchup. Very, very good stuff. 3.5 stars. Not as good as any of the big matches last week, but very, very good stuff. Then we had the last segment on the show, Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman, the segment. If you want to build for a SummerSlam main event, and again, all the people bitching and moaning, oh, Randy Orton and Brock Lesnar's going to be boring, nobody wants to see it. Shut up, because if you build a match correctly, you will be invested in it. And this match was built so perfectly in the last 2 weeks. This segment did more for this matchup than anything on the show. This was the best thing on this Raw show. And people will say the Rollins match was, maybe the Balor segment was. No, this was the best segment on the show. Because Heyman comes out and he introduces Brock, and Brock doesn't say a thing. And Brock Lesnar can talk. If you've seen his sit-down interviews, he can talk very, very well. If you've seen some of his UFC interviews, he can talk very, very well. Now, Heyman talks here, and he sells this match up perfectly. He says that Randy Orton's going to take Brock Lesnar to Viperville. No. Randy Orton is going to Suplex City. And it was just a perfect Paul Heyman segment. He was so great here. He said he was Paul Heyman. He was great. And then out of nowhere, Randy Orton runs down and RKO's Brock Lesnar, and then he runs out of the ring. And this felt big because Randy Orton, as a SmackDown superstar, coming to Raw, I know that breaks the brand split draft, but the whole point is he did it illegally. So he didn't just come out of the stage with his theme song. He ran down from the crowd and RKO'd Lesnar and then ran back out, and security came down and stuff. It made it feel bigger because he was a SmackDown superstar. And great build. Great build for this main event of SummerSlam. I hope it main events SummerSlam. I'm really looking forward to it. That is how you end Monday Night Raw. But in the end, was this as good as last week's Raw? It was nowhere near. But I think that the main event segment was great. I thought that the Balor stuff with Rollins was great. I thought the Rollins-Zayn match was very good. And the Cesaro-Sheamus match was very good as well. So I'm going to give this Raw 6.5 out of 10. I think it was pretty good. It wasn't... Well, it was pretty good. It was okay. But SmackDown have to reply tonight, and they should be able to, I think. I think they could have a good enough show to beat this one, because if they don't, then it's going to be 2-0 Raw, and that's definitely not a good sign for the coming weeks. So, thanks for watching, guys. This has been my August 1st Raw recap. Tell me your thoughts. What did you think of Monday Night Raw? What was your favourite segment? Do you think Sasha Banks being pinned was ridiculous, like I did? And do you think the Orton-Lesnar matchup has got so much heat now and fire that it is the main event of SummerSlam? Thanks for watching, guys. This has been Revolver Ocelot.